Hi, everybody. Welcome to my quilting studio here in Western Colorado. It's a bright, sunny, sunshiny day. My name is Shanna Renden. I am a promoted instructor with Sew Steady. And today I thought we'd talk about loops. I stitched out a few while I was waiting, and the original project was going to be the Quilt As You Go casserole caddy that was made by June Taylor. It's a quilt on batting or printed batting that you then quilt as you go, and then add ruler quilting as well. And this is that project. The fabric was just so bright and fun that I thought, oh, it would look great with loops, because loops are they're fun, they're easy, they're almost relaxing to quilt. But then the project got more complicated because I got out all my templates that have loops, and I added far too many templates to cover in a Facebook Live. So I decided to step back a little, work with the loop templates. We'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about how to do loops with the starter set templates, because not everybody has the loop templates, I'm sure. So we can use the starter set. I was really surprised at some of the designs I was able to get from the starter set. And first, let's look at, these are the different types of loops that are available from Sew Steady. And they begin at, here is a 2" by 1". So that means it's 2 inches wide by 1 inch tall. So they're called continuous border templates. And so it'll be CBL, or continuous border loop. And then it's followed by the width and then the height. So continuous border loop 2-1. And then on to 2 inches wide, 2 inches tall. And there are 3 different styles of border loops. The first style is what we see here, with the loops actually touch one another. They just barely come together somewhere sort of in the center. And they look just great. The next style of border loops have loops that do not touch one another. And I was just stitching one of those types of loops. So they begin with 3 inches wide, 1 inch tall, and the largest is 6 inches tall by the 3 inches wide. So those are the 2 types of border loops that I'll be talking about today. The third type of border loop is a different shape. It looks like this. You may have seen Kate did a Facebook Live. She talked about the fish template, and that was this type of border loop. So I'm just going to stay with the circular ones, and I'm going to leave the fish for Kate. So the one thing I noticed when I started is these, the rulers are all, they're very beautiful and basic. And when you stitch the 2 inch by 1 inch, you're going to end up with 2 inch by 1 inch stitching design. And so when I noticed that all of these are 2 inches wide and just a different height, I think to myself, oh, this might make a great way that I can switch templates for one another, switch them in and out, to make different designs than those just shown on the catalog page. So we'll get into that. But when I started, I started out with two basic questions. So number one is, if you don't have the border loop templates, are there substitutes? And I thought more people would have the starter set than any other templates that I know of. So I decided to go with the starter set and see what kind of loops I could create. And then my other question was, okay, well, I've got these beautiful loops. Are there different designs that I could make with these beautiful loop templates? So to answer that question, I selflessly spent hours on Pinterest copying designs of loops. And I was thinking, possibly we could create some of these designs with loops, the loop templates. And this helped give me some ideas about how to use the starter set templates as well. And Pinterest is a great place to think you're going to spend a few minutes and end up spending a few hours. So I do have a lot of pins in my quilting, my ruler quilting Pinterest account. So if you want to just look up Shanna Renden and ruler quilting, you'll see all of these pins plus more. So how does our loop template work? This is the style of loop template that does not touch. It's 3 inches tall. I'm sorry, it's 3 inches wide by 4 inches tall. And to use this, well, we've got several lines. We've got 3 lines across the top, 3 across each side, 3 across the bottom. Just for today's purposes, I'm going to refer to this as the top and this as the bottom, just so we can kind of keep straight. Also, the template has these little curved lines, which will fit right on top of the previously stitched part of the design, depending on which direction you're going. And for today's class, I will also assume that all of my explanations are for if you are stitching from right to left, stitching a row of loops from the right side to the left side. So in order to do that, I would put my needle down here. Oh, I forgot to mention that there's this center vertical line, and this is very crucial if you want to keep your loops straight, parallel. So I would drop my needle here at the bottom with this, at this vertical line, and stitch all the way up and around to this hook. And the hook is similar to the hook on the spiral template in the starter set. So for the first time, stitch up and around and stop. Then take the template and move the template over. So the second hook is now around your ruler foot, and then stitch all the way around to the bottom, and you've completed one loop, and then go on up and stop at the top again. So let's show you. So if you can see, I have My fabric is a grid of 2-inch squares. I have marked that with a chalk pencil. There's also a 2-inch square grid that I like to use and it's a stencil, so I can use Pounce powder, and that's iron off powder. It's really very helpful. Okay, on this loop, I have stitched several. So I've stitched up here and I'm at my first stop, and I bring the template over, hook it on that next loop, and this etched line right here just falls directly on top of my stitching. So I know that it's going to be parallel and straight. Now, that is how to do one loop. But as I was looking at the Pinterest designs, I noticed that they did, one loop of one size, the next loop of another size. So let's try that. I can take, let's see, one of the smaller guys that I have. This one is only 2 inches tall as opposed to the 6 inches tall. Also, my 6-inch template, may have noticed, did not have a gate or a key. It simply had an opening that I could slide back and forth. And this littler one has the key or gate. And I keep that closed with tape. And I drop my needle and line up so that I don't have any line that is directly on my 2-inch grid. So what I do is just look and make sure I have this horizontal line and this horizontal line over here, and they are the same distance from that my 2-inch grid, and that I can see my previously stitched design is on top of the previous stitching. So here is a smaller loop. We could do 2 of those. And now maybe put the big one back on. And now I have my horizontal lines I can match up at the bottom. I can set on my previous stitching. Slide the template over. Also, one thing that you want to be careful with is the quilt sandwich and the template. This template is kind of large. I want to make sure that my stitching, my previous row of stitching, is lined up under this etched mark, this etched line. I also want to make sure that my vertical lines, my center lines, are straight or parallel with the other lines, so that I know my design will stay straight. And sometimes you have to kind of mush the quilt sandwich, maybe just a little bit, to get it to fit both the horizontal, vertical, and the previously stitched line. But it really does turn out just fine. Okay, so do one of those. And then, oh, wondering where I put him. And we'll put this little guy back on. Again, match up my lines, and we'll make one loop. Also, well, you can see that this line of this template is just directly right on top of the line I did with the previous template. The thread I'm using is an embroidery weight polyester. It's variegated yellows and orange. But you can use any type of thread you might want. So this is the look of the loops. So we have the tall, the 6 inches, then 2 smaller ones, a large one, and a small one. So let me show you some samples. I made some loops with all the templates that I have. So I went from the 6 inch to the 5 inch, and this is the style 1. Loops don't touch one another. Then to the 4 inch here, 3 inches, and this is a template that does touch. Then 2 inches and 1 inch. Now, the 3, 2, and 1 are the other style, or the style 2, where they touch one another in the center, or they're meant to touch one another in the center. So the templates work great. This was just operator error. And then I decided to do a Pinterest design. So I took the template that I used here and did what I'm now referring to as a switch and flip or a stitch and flip. And I created this design that looks ever so much like my Pinterest design. So those are the sizes of templates that were listed in the catalog that I had. I also have a smaller template. This is a 1 by 1, 1 inch by 1 inch, and it came with the mini continuum set. So if you have that, you have a 1 by 1. And then I tried the same thing, the switch and flip with the 1 by 1 template. And again, the glitches right here, these are operator error. When the templates, after you've practiced, the templates work perfectly. So, and here are some that I stitched doing every other size with, sizes kind of closely related. And then this is 3 sizes. So you could have a repeating pattern of the 3 sizes. And this would be the 3 inch and the 1 inch. And this is what the second style looked like. Also, you can interchange style 1 with the style 2. So I could use the style 1 up here, alternating with the style 1 loop templates also. They interchangeable, and they work just wonderfully. And then again, I tried my little switch and flip. And this is the stitch and flip using the loop template. That's kind of cool. And again, the unevenness here is operator error. The templates will work just beautifully. And here is basically just 2 rows of loops done at a mirror image. And I did them as a stitch and flip, and I made it way too difficult. All I really had to do would be to sew them one direction and then come back and stitch them the other direction. And to stitch the other direction, you simply reverse the way I showed earlier by starting on the left hand side and moving the other direction. Okay, let's take a look at what some of the designs that touch how they work. I'm just going to put this design on. It is a 2" by 2". And I've got it parallel. And there are 3 loops all touching one another. Take that one and let's put it with the little tiny one. Just need to line that up and that's the difference between the 3" and the 1". So mix and match and up and down. Let's see. This is a 2" by 2". And that's supposed to just barely touch, but it's close. Let's take the little guy and do some of the stitch and flip designs. I've got some room up here, so I'll just start lined up like so. And hold on to the thread ends. So this is just going to be one loop. Now to do this stitch and flip, I stop at the center and flip it around so it's upside down. And all of these designs are going to be stitched at an angle. So my loop was here, and now I'm going to stitch this loop. So if I do the loop directly under it, I'll have that mirror image look rather than the angled look that I'm looking for. And flip it up again. This part gets to be a lot of fun, so I kind of have to keep trying to say pay attention so that I don't flip somebody the wrong direction. One other problem that I have is that sometimes I relax so much while I'm stitching the larger loops that I'll actually anticipate a curve and go off template, which means I've been having too much fun. And when I flip my template up to the other side, you can see that this the line that shows my previous line of stitching lines right up. Okay, so we'll call that good for our stitch and flip. Okay. So there we have a stitch and flip with the loop designs. Okay. The next step was the starter set. And after playing with the loops and understanding how the loops are created, how the templates are shaped, I looked at the starter set and selected the circle, the number 4 spin effects, and the number 36 circle on quilt spinning wheels. So they look different, and yet we're going to get different yet similar results from them. So first thing I did was take my template and my stitching line discs and my granddaughter's sketchbook, which I'll have to get replaced before they notice. And I drew what I thought would be some nice circles or some nice loops from my circle. And I just did arbitrary positions along the circle and then decided what shapes I liked best. So with each template, I have selected 3 different points on the template to create the designs. The designs being the loops. And they're stitched. I stitched them just the same way that I just stitched my loop templates. So this this being my circle, you can see it's kind of colorful. I have lots of lines marked on my template, and I've got some brightly colored arrows. Usually when it's just me and I'm working on a design, I will just draw a line straight across the template when I find a spot. So I put my ruler down like so and use either usually a water erase marker, sometimes a Sharpie, depending on how long I want the line to stay. And I mark a straight line because that is very easy for me to line up with my needle. And I have straight lines for the teal and the purple, but I added the arrows simply so you could see better what I'm going to quilt. But you'll hopefully be able to see better. Okay. So to begin with the circle, I'm going to call this edge is my either my seam allowance or the edge of the block. And let me see. If I line my center up on, okay, that would make an easy line to follow. Sometimes when I'm working with the 2-inch grid and I want to put the circle in a certain spot and I don't have any marks for it to follow, I will simply draw a line on, this time with the water erase markers, so that I can use this drawn line to use as my my reference line. Let's see. We'll use the center and start at the center here. Now, this is kind of an interesting part. I'm not going to be really using this as a circle as much as I'm going to be using it as a loop. So I'm going to do the biggest loop, and that would be using the line that is under this purple arrow. And that remains consistent throughout the rest of the templates too. So the larger loop is going to be purple. The middle-sized loop will be the teal, and then the smaller loop will be the hand-drawn blue arrow. So when I line up my circle, instead of lining up with the center vertical that I have on my on my circle template, I'm going to use the purple arrow, and I'm going to line up so that that arrow points directly at my needle and stop. Then I'm going to slide the template over, just like I did with the loops. And line up the horizontals that I had and stitch from the purple line again. Purple line is back here. So stitch from the purple line down around to the center. And if I go a few more steps, okay, so this Well, I'll make a couple of these so you can. So I stop at the purple line, move the whole template over, and line up my needle with the purple arrow, and line up my the etched marks on my circle so that they're parallel. And I'm going to stop at the center and show you the designs that I was able to get with the circle. And that looks very much like loops to me. Okay. So let's try the teal and see what size those loops are. I will line up my center line, and I will line up the teal line by switching it around just like that. And I just can measure from my needle to the teal line, make that my center, and to continue, just slide the template to the right. Now I can continue with an entire row of just a bit smaller loops. And stop again at the center so you can see the widest loops, and then less wide loops. And now let's go for the thinnest loops. So I'll put the center here and then mark up and use my marked line slide my template over. Stitch to the marked line. Yeah, that probably won't work out. I'll just I can just cut my thread. Okay, so there are my circles. Oops, that's a little kitty wampus, but there are a lot of sizes of circles out there, so think about how many different loop sizes and shapes that you can create. show you my sample. Here, this would be the largest loops, the medium-sized loops, and then the smaller loops, as you just saw. And this is doing loops with a 1-inch circle. That's interesting. So I then tried, well, if you notice the circle loop, or all the loops that I did with the circle template, they all have a rounded bottom. Also, all of the loops that don't touch one another have a rounded bottom. But the templates that do touch one another also have kind of a little point here. And I wanted to figure out how to create the point on the circle. So this is a circle where I was able to get the points. And by to do that, I have a circle here somewhere. Well, till I can find it. And I also did circles with the 4-inch circle. So this is the wider, or the widest, the middle size, and the small, done with a 4-inch circle. And then if I wanted to make the V, the point on the 4-inch circle, I would simply stitch, but instead of using the center line here at the bottom, I blocked out about 1 inch of the circle and made a mark and put that as the line where I started my stitching, stitched up to whatever line, and then stitch back around. And I just figured out why these are cattywampus. I wasn't supposed to line up the purple at the top, at the center. Sorry about that, guys. When you line it up and stitch from here to the purple, slide the purple over. That's how it remains in the center. I hope I didn't confuse you too much. So, and let me show you. Here's the 1-inch circle. Oh, there he is. Okay. So to begin, threads get very short when you cut them. Okay, so hold on to the threads, start at the bottom, line your lines up, and stitch to the purple arrow. Slide the purple arrow over. Okay. Same with the teal. Okay, now if I wanted to make the little V at the bottom of my circle, I will stop at the line here. I took about 3/4 of an inch out of the circle by stopping. So my vertical line is here, and I'm stopping probably a little more than 1/4 of an inch away from my circle, from my vertical line. So now I'm going to just slide my template over and keep everything straight to the other line that I drew on my template. And now I should be able to get V-shaped templates with my circle. Oops. I can just undo that a little bit later. Okay. So let's just take this off. And to get this off, I'm pulling up my bobbin thread, and it comes up as a loop. So I have both ends of the bobbin thread, top thread, and I can cut it all at once. But I have done some tiny little stitches at the end. I got at least 4 or 5 stitches at the end. And I can attest to the fact that this holds the stitching quite securely. After trying to unstitch it, I can say, yes, it works very well. So another thing we can do with the template, the circle, is this was a design from Pinterest where they put one and overlapped it with the other. So the circle going, stitching this direction, this way, then turn it upside down and stitch it this way. And that was a lot of fun. And then another design from Pinterest was this clamshell looking block, but clamshell with a loop on it. And that was a lot of fun because my clamshells didn't have to be exactly perfect. They might be off a little bit. Now, they are off a little bit, but there are loops and they don't show that they're off quite so much as they did before. So that is what we can do with the circle template. So for the rest of the time, we can spend on the number 4 and the number 36 starter set templates. I began my experiments using the number 4. It's a Spinifex template. It's created to, well, okay, it's a Spinifex template, and it's one of the 16 flower design type Spinifex templates, and it has a lot of lines. You can do almost anything with this number 4 template. It is one of the most versatile templates that I own. And so the default stitching for the Spinifex is to just put it on and rotate the Spinifex around the ruler foot. It also has a pinhole, and that will give you a whole different set of designs. But this design has all of the qualities that I was looking for when I looked at the templates, after stitching the loop templates, I knew that I needed to have a template that was curved, that was smaller at the bottom, larger toward the top, and the inside curve, and that would make a loop. And then the amount of the template space that I used would create the size of the loop. So there you have my number 4, along with the arrows that I talked about earlier, and that is the fattest loops will be purple line, and that purple line is on one of the lines that's already present on the template, and then the teal line is on that next line that's on the template. Maybe you can see that. This line and this line. So they're etched into the template, and I just put my purple and teal arrows right there for you to take a look. And the stitch out I got from the number 4 was really fun. So I did the fatter loops, and then this is a medium-sized loop, and I really liked that. I tried a smaller loop, but it was okay. So then I did the stitch and flip with the number 4, and it looks like this. I have been trying to do free motion quilting and quilt this design for quite a long time. I'm really happy that I found templates that are able to do this design. And the number 4 template, it's a Spinifex flower. It comes in a set of 5 templates, as well as miniature templates that stitch at 1.5 and 2.5 inches tall. So I tried my mini Spinifex number 4. So this is a 2.5 inch tall design, and this is a 1.5 inch tall design. So isn't that cute? Won't that be fun to add into some of the ruler quilting that we're already doing? I just really like that. And then another Pinterest design was the look of hearts, and the hearts being flipped over back and forth. So let's see how that is stitched out. Okay. Number 4. There we go. Yes. I'll just start right. I'll start right here. Holding on, and I'll stitch up to the purple arrow and slide the template. Come around to the purple arrow and slide the template. This one will only go to the teal line, so it'll be a smaller loop. Okay. So the larger loops and then the smaller or medium size loops. If I want to do the heart that touches with this template, I just need to stitch up one more line beyond the purple. One more line beyond the purple. So let's see how it looks when we do a stitch and flip of the heart. So I just turn the template over upside down. I'll try to keep it straight so my horizontal lines are right along the base of the previous row stitching. And I'm going to stitch this angled line here. I always want to make sure that when I'm doing this stitch and flip, I'm going from one corner to the other corner, as opposed to stitching back below what I previously stitched, because as I mentioned before, that will give you a mirror image of what you just stitched. Make sure it's straight. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the teal line. So those fat guys don't look like hearts all that much. But when I go to the teal line, they look more like hearts, but they don't cross. see. So that is our number 4 with the hearts. Let's take a look at the singles. I'm going to the teal line. So there, the single line, and see more of those all together. You can look at this sample, and the hearts. They don't look so good. We'll look at these hearts instead. They look a little better. Still wasn't right on having even sized chambers in my hearts, but it is very fun to stitch. And if they don't look perfect, people will think that you were doing free motion quilting instead of using the rulers. But this is still one of my favorite designs, and looking forward to creating that on many other projects. So the next template is the 36. The 36 template is the Circles on Quilts Spinning Wheels number 36. And a Circle on Quilts template. The Circle on Quilts template, its default position is that this design is to be stitched using the thumbtack. And then the template just rotates around on the reference marks from your crosshair square. You can also use this template to go around the ruler foot just like you did with the number 4. Again, it's just offering you extra ideas or extra dimensions to the templates. And if we look at this one, this template, compare that to the number 4, the size, it's much wider here. So I have more area to play with to make loops. So goes to figure that I should be able to make wider, fatter loops, and we'll see what that can do. Let's see. Here's my sample. So this is an example of the fatter loops, and the fatter loop hearts compared to the number 4 with the loops not quite so large. Okay. So when I was working with this template, it was really nice in that I got almost the infinity symbol that I've been wanting to be able to stitch by using this template. Also, one thing that I use to keep my templates straight, my rows straight, is I like to use this center vertical line, but the center vertical line wasn't here on the original template. So I used an X-Acto knife and a ruler, and I etched my own line on the back side of my template so that I would always have that vertical center on top and bottom. So just saying, my templates are, they work. They're not to just sit and look pretty. Also, I'm going to be using this template upside down. Well, upside down this way, as well as upside down when you look at the A and B, because I put the sticky stuff on the wrong side of the template. So we'll just go with that. So line my centers and go for my first loop. And the biggest, fattest loop, I'm going to stitch all the way to B and then slide the template over to A. And you can feel there's like a little divot at A and B so that you can slide the template over and it'll just fit right in. So just keeping my lines horizontal. Okay. And then around to B, slide the whole template over to A. Oops. There goes the getting off template. But this is how I correct an error. I got off the template right here. So I stopped and I did a jump stitch. Actually, the needle went down one time here, but I figure that embroidery does it all the time. So I could do a jump stitch so long as I tacked it back in, and then I can rip it out a little later. Okay. So other than that, this is the size of loops you get by using the A and B. And now let's use the purple and the teal to see what we get. Purple. Now I'll do teal. So the wider loops to the narrower to even narrower. Let's try some flips with the 36 template. If we do the heart again, upside down. Okay. Okay. Get the wide ones. I'm going to stitch all the way up to A or B, slide the template over. Keep it horizontal. And again, it's the angle that I'm looking for in the hearts. So horizontal. And that's pretty good for the fattest heart. Let's do some purple hearts. Purple hearts. Okay. Do two. Flip. Oops. I was thinking ahead of myself here. I was going to switch to what looks to me like an infinity, this symbol. So I'm going to do a large. One large, and then flip and switch. Again, the angle, A to B. And that's a sample of what our infinity-like symbol looks like with the largest loops. Let me try just a few of the purple size. Okay, not too much of to show you there, but I'll show you my sample. And let's see, the infinity sign. I really like that design. You can create a design much like this using the continued border hearts. This is very easy with the number 36. So here is the larger or the medium size single, and this design was also taken from a photo on Pinterest where they would superimpose one design on over the next. That too would make a cute border. So, oh, and here is what a 1/2 inch circle looks like when you do loops with the 1/2 inch circle. So the very last thing today, I wanted to show you something. It's not exactly with the starter set. Well, no, it is not with the starter set, but it is also a very handy template to have, and that is the oval. This oval is 1.5 by 3. It comes with the Fun and Fancy Design Collection, if you have that from Kate Quinn. And her book also shows you how to stitch loops, but it will be a different method than what I'm going to show you. And an oval is extremely versatile. So we can look here at some of the things. And I made all of my marks on this side of my template, and I write myself notes and do my lines and do my marks. And I was just thinking, if I flipped it over and did it on the other side, all of the work I'm doing is going to be within these arrows. So I could just leave the leave the gate out of the template and switch back and forth. So that would be quite easy. So again, I took just some random numbers. Like I came up a 1/2 inch from the horizontal center here, and that's where, let's see, and that's where I made my smallest loop. And the largest loop I made on this 45-degree angle line. So, and again, I draw a straight line across my template and then just added the arrows so they show up better. So let's okay. So I'm going to stitch up to the teal line. And then I'm going to slide over to the teal, keep my horizontals. Oops, went off template a little bit there. Let's go to the purple. Oops, one of my purple arrows fell off. That's okay. These are the two sizes that I can get with the oval. I could even make them smaller if I chose to, but the oval makes some very interesting looking loops, and they look just a lot like the templates, the loops templates. So the other thing about the oval template is that it doesn't have to go this direction. It can also go this direction. And let's see what happens. We start here. Oops. Oops. Oh well. Stitch up to the teal mark. I went off template again. Sorry about that. But other than going off template, doesn't that make for some cute little loops? And let's see. Finish this. Now we'll go up to my blue line. So this is the kind of fun you can have with the oval template. And the number 36 template. And the number 4. There we go. And that's about all I have to share with you today. So I want to thank you all for coming and spending your time with me. And I hope you all have a lovely holiday and stay safe. And we'll see you again. Thank you. Bye.